Right then, it's now the second international break of the 25-26 Premier League season, the perfect opportunity to redo my Premier League table predictions. Guys, I haven't done a prediction since before the season started. I did one at the end of July, and that is still my main one that I'll look back on at the end of the season. But today we're going to give it another go, just based on what we've seen over the last couple of months, with a couple of new managers, with the fact the transfer window closed, with the fact each team has played 7 games now. So fasten your seatbelts, guys. These are my predictions. Just remember, it's a bit of fun. Don't get too upset down below. It's just my opinions. If you have a different opinion, share your Premier League predictions down in the comments. Make sure to drop a like. We'll go for 2,000. Go on, hit that thumbs up button and make sure to subscribe. If you support a Premier League team, you have to subscribe. It's the rules. I don't make the rules. You just have to. Unless I predict your team to get relegated, then you don't have to. Let's get into the predictions. Honestly, I think this is going to be very difficult. There's obviously so much to play for. Let's start in the middle, 10th place, Everton. I am going to back the Toffees for a top half finish. I did have them to finish mid-table at the start of the season, and what I've seen so far this season kind of backs up what I had to say. Obviously, they've been on a great run ever since David Moyes came in. We saw that at the end of last season, and I did say if they can make the Hill Dickinson a fortress, then that is something to go off, and they haven't lost at home yet. They've just beaten Crystal Palace, the first team to do that in about 50 years. They're looking really good. Grealish, what a signing. Dewsbury Hall, Undayi, Jordan Pickford once again is playing his part. So when I look at this team, I think, yeah, top 10, and the underlying numbers do suggest that a top 10 finish is viable. So yeah, let's go for it. Everton top 10. If anything, they could be pushing for Europe, but it might be a step too far. Who knows? 9th place, I'm going to go with Brighton. I'm going to have Brighton in 9th. I stand by them being able to push for Europe this season, especially as they are one of the teams not in Europe. Brighton have had a bit of a mixed start, but in terms of the numbers, they've scored 22 goals in 9 games in all competitions this season. They have definitely found their shooting boots at the start of this season. They've already beaten Man City, they've beaten Chelsea. We know that Brighton's a well-run club. We like Hurtzler. So yeah, I think they could be pushing for the top 7. And then just above them, I'm going to go with the Cherries. Let's have Bournemouth in 8th place. They've been great, haven't they? AFC Bournemouth, absolutely fantastic, which is not a surprise anymore. Obviously, they finished up here last season and they've started this season so well. They've got the underlying numbers and XG of a top 6 team, which is incredible. Is it sustainable? Well, possibly. I'll go for 8th, which is maybe a little drop, but that's probably the lowest I could see them finishing. They've been really good. Obviously, they might not have the depth that a Tottenham and a Newcastle do, but in terms of the players they've got in this team, you've got Alex Scott, obviously, Evan Nilsson and Semenyo. Oh my gosh, how have Bournemouth still got Semenyo? He is so good. What a goal, by the way, against Fulham just before the international break. Okay, so that's 8th, 9th and 10th. And then let's move into 11th place, Aston Villa. Okay, they've gone down slightly in my estimations, even though right now they are currently turning things around. 4 wins in a row in all competitions. Their 2 Premier League wins have been home games against Burnley and Fulham, so we're still yet to see the best of this Villa team that we know under Unai Emery are capable of beating the top teams. But look at the next couple of games, by the way, for Villa. Tottenham, Man City and Liverpool. You could maybe see Villa sliding back down the table a little bit before they then start to push on again. Look, Marlon is a positive. He got a couple of goals against Burnley. Ollie Watkins has got his first goal, but we really need to see more from him. They just need to start firing on all cylinders, this Villa team, because it's very capable of getting into the top 10. But what I will say as a caveat is I actually think Villa should be one of the favourites to win the Europa League. With Unai Emery as well, of course, very qualified when it comes to European competitions. I reckon Villa might actually win the Europa League. I'm going to have them 11th. 12th place, let's go with Manchester United. It's difficult to assess Manchester United. They've not been consistent this season. Look, their underlying numbers are very, very good. Their performances at times have been pretty good. You know, when they played Arsenal on the opening day, they could have got something from that. However, they've got 3 wins in the Premier League, and they were against 2 of the newly promoted teams and Chelsea, who were down to 10 men very early on. So I don't want to get too carried away. Yes, they've got Bruno Fernandes, who on his day is obviously a brilliant player, and Mbuemo and Sesko, but maybe it's going to be baby steps for Manchester United. They finished 15th last season. I'm going to go 12th for them this season. Then maybe the following season they get into the top 10. And although that's going to be hugely frustrating for the United fans, because obviously they're a massive club that should be doing better, considering they hit rock bottom last year, they need to start trending up. And I'll go for a slight improvement on last season, but very inconsistent so far, I must say. 13th, let's sling Fulham there. I think Fulham are just steady, aren't they? Look at their results, once again, a bit mixed. They seem like the kind of team that are going to beat the bottom teams, you know, beat the teams below them and also in the bottom half. But they've not picked up any wins against, you know, any of the top 6 or 7 this season. So that's kind of how I see Fulham. Obviously, they're always steady under Marco Silva. Let's have them 13th, which I don't think Fulham fans can grumble with. And then let's go to 14th, where I'm going to go with Forest. Now, yes, right now, you could say Forest are in a relegation scrap, but look at the quality of this squad. This team didn't finish 7th by accident last season. They were very good last year, and obviously they've got great players that got them there. They were also well drilled, and they had Nuno who got the best out of them. That's why I think they're going to be lower this time round, because he's not there. They've brought in Ange Postecoglou, and look, I don't want to wish any manager to get sacked, but what I think will happen is he will go at some point, and then they'll start trending up. But this slow start to the season could cost them getting into the top half again. So I'm going to go 14th. But also, remember, Forest are in the Europa League, and I think Marinakis is really going to want them to get as far as they can in that competition. I know they've not won a game yet, but, you know, they only have to get a couple of wins in the league phase just to get into the playoffs, and from there, it's a knockout competition. Let's go 14th for Forest. Just a bit sort of unsure how things are going to play out at the minute, but like I say, I do think they'll start trending up once they've got a different manager. Sorry, Ange, that's just how I see it. Right, let's move back up to 7th place, where I'm going to go with Crystal Palace. I reckon Crystal Palace could get into Europe again. If they finish 7th, that might see them get into the Conference League. However, for me, I reckon they could actually win the Conference League this season, which would see them get into the Europa League, which obviously they could have been in this season for winning the FA Cup last year, but we all know what happened there. Look, they've been brilliant, haven't they? I know they've just lost to Everton, but they've been on a great unbeaten record, and what a year they've had, winning the FA Cup, winning the Community Shield, and they have lost some good players, Eze in particular, but I just think under Glasner, Palace are so good. Dean Henderson, by the way, honestly, so good. Mateta, maybe we need to see a bit more from him, but you've also got Sarr, you've got Gay, you've got Wharton. There's so much quality there, and they just play so well as a team. Really tricky place to go and get a result at Selhurst Park. What I would say is the European schedule might take its toll on Palace later in the season, but not to an extent where I think they finish any lower than 7th or 8th. Let's have Palace 7th. Right, 6th place, I'm going to go with the Geordies, Newcastle United. I think they're growing into this season. They have won 3 of their last 4 games in all competitions. Okay, they've played Bradford in there. They've played Forest, who are pretty terrible at the moment under Ange. But there's definitely signs of improvement. And as I said before, I think this is just them starting to come out of that Isak drama that was surrounding the club. And look at the firepower they've got at this team. Visa, Voltemada has got a couple of goals. You've got Murphy, you've got Gordon, and you've got Eddie Howe, who obviously brought Newcastle silverware last season for the first time in ages. So, yeah, I think they're going to be steady. They're going to gradually get better. Obviously, they're in the Champions League, which once again could take its toll, but I don't think 6th is unreasonable. That's where I'm going to have Newcastle. Share your thoughts. Right, should we go on to the relegation battle or do the top 5? Let's do the top 5. 5th place, Tottenham. I reckon they could get back into the Champions League again next season. The thing is with Thomas Frank is last season and the season before, Tottenham could play well under Ange but lose, whereas with Frank, they can play poor but win, and it's obviously a better quality. Obviously Ange's football is more exciting, especially for the neutral, but it does come with high risks of conceding loads of goals, and they've just been very steady under Frank. And let's remember, they lost Son, Maddison is out with a long-term injury, but they're doing all right. There's still enough quality in here with Richarlison, Kudus, Brennan Johnson. Yeah, I'll go 5th for Spurs. Like I say, they're not maybe perfect at the minute, but they are 3rd, so make of that what you will. I'll have them to finish top 5. 4th place, I'm going to go with Chelsea. Chelsea have been a bit tricky to put your finger on because once again they've been a bit inconsistent but good. They've picked up some good results. They've just beaten Liverpool. That's a great result. And they've played well at times. Obviously Cole Palmer being out is a massive blow, but Caicedo's been great. João Pedro, he got a couple of goals at the start of this season. I want to see a bit more from him going forwards. But yeah, I think top 4 is sustainable, given that they're in the Champions League as well, and they'll be wanting to try and get as far as they can in that competition. I think as far as the Premier League goes, as long as they get in the top 4 or top 5 and get Champions League again, that's a success, right? Now then, let's move on to the top 3 before we come to the relegation battle. And in 3rd place, I'm going to go with Man City. I do think Man City have got a chance of winning the Premier League. Of course they do. They're Man City. They've got Pep Guardiola. Haaland's scored... How many goals has he got? 9 goals in all competitions already. And it's the October international break. That's incredible. Some of the summer transfers have been great. Donnarumma coming in. Definitely more solid than James Trafford. Just a steady, safe pair of hands. Reinders coming in. Good signing. But they have failed to win 3 of their 7 Premier League games so far. Okay, they've had some tough games. Drawing with Arsenal is not too bad. Losing to Brighton, it can happen. But as we all know, to win the Premier League, you've got to be pretty flawless. And Man City, I just wonder if they're going to drop too many points. They've got the firepower. They might be the top scorers this season, but maybe not the team with the most points. I think when it comes to the title race, it's between Arsenal and Liverpool. And at the start of the season, I backed Liverpool to win the league and I had Arsenal second. But there's less between them right now than I originally thought. I thought it would be close. Now I think it could be very, very close. Look, you could say that we're recording this at a good time for Arsenal and a bad time for Liverpool. Arsenal are currently top. Liverpool have lost their last 3 games in all competitions in a row. My concern is if that run continues for a couple more games, Arsenal will open up a gap, and from there it's very difficult for Liverpool. It's out of their hands. And remember, they've still got to go away to the Emirates. At least Arsenal can say they've ticked off that game at Anfield. But if Liverpool can turn this form around now and beat Manchester United after the international break, then I could see them going on to win the next 3 or 4 in a row. Oh, this is difficult. I did see something online the other day. I think it was on Sky Sports. It was an Arsenal fan saying the only team that could stop Arsenal from winning the Premier League right now is Arsenal. And I couldn't disagree more. I don't see how that's the case. You're making out as if Arsenal are 10 points clear and have the best team. In my opinion, Liverpool still have the best team. That's not to say Arsenal can't win the Premier League, but Liverpool won the league last season and they've also possibly had the best transfer window out of any of the top clubs. That said though, I could still see Arsenal doing it, but I don't think it's as easy as saying, well, it's Arsenal's to lose right now. So then, what am I saying? This is close. There's less between them than I first thought. However, I'm still going to have Liverpool to win the league. I just think under Arne Slot, Liverpool have got a winning mentality where they know how to just get it over the line. And this would be difficult for Arsenal to take because they are getting so close and just keep falling short. And by the way, if you're an Arsenal fan watching this who disagrees, that's fair enough. I genuinely think there's a good argument for you winning the Premier League. So I don't massively disagree with you saying that. Just don't get too upset with me saying Liverpool can still win it as well, because there's not a lot between the two. I'll go with Liverpool though, but look, it could be close. So that is my top 5, my top 10 and mid-table. Let's get into the relegation scrap. So then, when it comes to the bottom 3, I think it's between 6 teams. I think it's between the 3 newly promoted teams, Leeds, Sunderland and Burnley. And I also think Wolves, West Ham and Brentford could be sucked down this season. Look, like I said earlier, it's possible with the way Forest are going at the minute, they could be in the conversation. But I think given the quality of the squad, they'll just pull away with a new manager. So this is what I'm left with. Which of these 6 teams do I feel most confident will stay up? I'm going to say Sunderland. Yep, my mind has changed. I think Sunderland have enough to stay up. Look, it is still possible Sunderland could lose 7 in a row and suddenly get sucked into this. And you can make the argument, they've had a great start. Is it sustainable? Maybe not. But maybe it is. Maybe this good start is sustainable. Let's have a look at the underlying numbers. The underlying numbers, XG, chance creation, have Sunderland as a 15th/16th place team this season. Okay, at the moment they're 9th. Maybe they've slightly overperformed. Maybe they have had soft fixtures, but I also want to push back against that a little bit. This is the Premier League. There's no easy games. Yes, December looks tough. Sunderland's December looks very tough, where they have to play Man City twice, Liverpool. They've got some really hard games in there. But they have already played Man United away, Forest away, Palace away, and the signs are good. Okay, a couple of bad performances against Burnley and Man United. But on the bright side, they are making the Stadium of Light a fortress, which is so crucial. The fans are on board and there's momentum behind this team and this club right now. Regis Labrie has shown great adaptability to the Premier League and they're so good at absorbing pressure. Alderete, Michele, Ballard and Roufs in goal, they are really, really solid at the back. And you've also got Xhaka, who is so crucial to this team, and you've got Isidore, and you've got other players going forwards that can get goals. I think Sunderland have shown enough quality so far for this to be a reasonable prediction. Sunderland 15th, that's what I'm going with. Like I say though, December does look difficult. AFCON might take its toll, but overall, I think Sunderland might have enough to get out of this. 16th, Brentford. This is a transition season, as we thought it would be. The manager went, a new manager comes in, and what, maybe their best 3 players left? That's not too unreasonable to say. However, despite some concerns from some people, which are fairly merited, I think they've got enough to at least stay up. And then maybe from there, Brentford kick on again and get back into the top 10 next season or something. But the thing is, there is still a winning mentality at this club. They've won 4 of their last 8 games in all competitions. Look, 2 of them were cup games, but they were against Premier League teams, Bournemouth and Villa. Their underlying numbers are quite low, but I think they are going to grow as the season goes on. Igor Thiago has got himself 4 goals already. Obviously, big boots to fill with the loss of Mbeumo and Visa, but he's looking decent. They've still got Schade there, of course, as well, who's maybe not been great so far. But you've got Damsgaard, you've got Jensen, and you've got Kelleher, who came in from Liverpool. There's a lot of quality and experience here for me to think Brentford will just about navigate their way away from danger. It might be close, but I think they'll stay up. And this is what I'm left with. 1 of these 4 are going to stay up. 3 of them are going to go down. I'm going to say that Leeds United stay up. I got you there, didn't I? I'm just going to back Leeds United. I have backed them all season to get over the line. But one thing I have said is it will be close, and I'm standing by that. They are currently above a point per game, and that's how I can see this season playing out. Leeds United just keep churning out around a point per game, and that, if they can just avoid a run of 4 defeats in a row, that will get you to 37, 38, 39 points. That might just be enough. There's going to be a lot of nail-biting games for the Leeds fans, but what we've seen is they are competitive. Other than the Arsenal game, they've been in every game. They've shown great defensive solidity when they need to. They've picked up a couple of clean sheets, and recently they've shown they can get goals, and they're good at coming from behind to get back into games. Longstaff, a really good pickup. You can make the argument he's been their best player. Stack, of course, he's been good. Okafor, he's got a couple of goals now as well. And there is firepower in this team. because you can get goals from midfield. You've also got Nemecha and Joel Peru. Maybe not as much depth as some of these teams down here, but can they just avoid a couple of big injuries? Their next 2 games are crucial. Burnley away and West Ham at home. Don't lose both of them. Ideally, get 4 points. Stay above that bottom 3, but just make sure you at least win one of them. I think they've got enough to do it. I think they will, but I think it could be close. I think Leeds play West Ham on the final day, and that could be dramatic. I'm going to have West Ham 18th. Yeah, I think this is a bold shout. I know they're in the bottom 3 at the minute, but I do think the general consensus from a lot of the Premier League fans is that West Ham will get out of this. They've got the quality, and they've now got an experienced, pragmatic manager who can navigate his way in these lower regions of the Premier League table. But maybe they might not stay up. I do think the 3 promoted teams this season are putting up a very good fight. And maybe Wolves and West Ham won't get away with it this time. Won't get away with being average. West Ham have some of the worst underlying numbers this season. Yes, most of that was under Graham Potter, and Nuno has had a difficult start. And as far as positives go, as I said, the power in this team with Bowen and Paquetá and Somerville, and as I've said before, if Nuno can make Fulkrug the next Chris Wood, they could start banging in loads of goals. But they concede so many. Yes, they're going to be a lot better defensively under Nuno, and they've got some big games coming. They've got Brentford and Leeds next. But I've always thought that the London Stadium has never really felt like home for the West Ham fans. I know that's a hard thing to say, because what can they do? They can't go back to Upton Park. But I just think so many people say it. The stadium layout, when the fans are so far from the pitch, it almost feels as though that physical divide between the players and fans is almost like a mental one as well now. And unless West Ham can go on a run now where they pick up, I don't know, 3 wins in 4 or 4 wins in 6, then they are going to be down here come the second half of the season because of this slow start. They are playing catch up. They're 4 points behind Leeds. They're already, 7 points behind Sunderland. As I said, maybe this time they might not get away with it. 19th, I'll go with Wolves. I know they're bottom at the moment, but I do still expect a upwards trend from Wolves. The quality in this team will get them results. They're not a team that's going to go all season winless. And look, Vitor Pereira, when he gets things clicking, he really gets things clicking. We saw that in the second half of last season. And if you look at the results and the performances recently, there has been signs of life at Wolves, signs of improvement. Could they have beaten Tottenham? Yes. Could they have beaten Brighton? Yes. However, conceding late goals on a regular basis will crush you down at the bottom. And although Wolves have been in this position before, they had 1 point at this stage last season. At least they've got 2 now. The difference is the promoted teams this time round look a lot better. And although Wolves might start putting things right, is it going to be a case of too little, too late, maybe? I don't know. Possibly. I'm going to have Wolves down there. Share your thoughts down below. They really need Strand Larsen to start banging in the goals because they're the lowest scorers in the league. And 20th, I'm going to go with Burnley. Burnley have been competitive, and they're definitely not a Southampton or a Sheffield United that are just going to get 12 or 13 points. But can you realistically see this Burnley team getting to 37 points, which is probably the minimum you need to stay up, or 36? I just don't see it. I just don't think they're going to stay close to a point per game. They're already under that, and the signs are that they can stay in games. They can get the odd draw. They can maybe get the odd win every now and then, but they're just falling on the wrong side of quite a few results. And what I put that down to is just the quality. They have got a couple of decent players. Cullen, Jadon Anthony's had a really good start to the season as well, but there's just not enough quality for me. That's what it is. And I think Leeds and Sunderland have a bit more momentum at the minute as clubs in general as well, being back in the top flight. Whereas maybe it's not as exciting for Burnley, just because they've been promoted quite a few times over the recent years. I know that might sound like a silly argument, but maybe there is something in that. Whereas this is quite a big deal for the Sunderland fans. It's still a big deal for the Burnley fans, but they have been in this position before. Maybe that should help them in terms of experience, but then they've got very different players to last time they were in the Premier League. Look, their next 2 games, Leeds and Wolves, massive. They need 4 points because they're playing catch-up. They can't afford to lose either of those. So, yeah, I'm going to say, look, they've had a very difficult start and more winnable games are coming. However, I just don't see enough quality or momentum to see Burnley getting out of this. So that's it. That is my October international break reassessed Premier League table prediction. Liverpool to win the league, but I think Arsenal will be right on their tails. Man City, Chelsea and Spurs make up the top 5. Newcastle and Palace also get into Europe. And then down at the bottom, Sunderland and Leeds survive with West Ham, Wolves and Burnley as the bottom 3. That's it, guys. Share your thoughts. Make sure you've dropped a like. Make sure you've subscribed. Go on, if you're a Premier League fan, you've got to. And, of course, share your predictions down in the comments if you want to. Thanks for watching. Take care, everyone. Peace out.